So now I'm just going to check out this fish pond. We've got two monster koi in here that I think I heard were much older than 20 years. And they've grown up in here. Now I'm just testing the water right now. Soon I'll have some results to report. And in the meantime, I guess what I'd really want to make clear is that the health of your fish, which mind you, these guys, especially for their age, they look quite good. Koi can get a lot older than 20 years, but 20 years is a very good run, especially in a small pond, because in a small pond they're going to have higher concentrations of pheromones and phenols, which means they typically wouldn't get as big as they would in a monster pond, or if they were getting more water changes. More water changes, good quality food are all the keys. So these guys are looking good. Now here we've got some flake food, which I really wouldn't feed to koi at all. And then there's some, I'm assuming they're pretty cheap. I don't know what they are though. They could be Akari, which aren't too bad. So water quality and food quality is everything. Now I would be myself going for more like food like Danichi color for these guys. It's a slow cooked, more holistic style food, which I would definitely look at. Okay, so as far as his water quality is concerned, KH is 4. I'd rather it be higher than that, but I'm pretty happy with that. GH is 13, which is pretty good. pH is 7.6, that's fine. Phosphates are on the high side, which means we could do with some more water changes. There may be a tiny bit of ammonia and nitrite, which means our filter's going to need a clean. And our main concern is 199 in nitrate, which means the nitrate is very, very high. So the first thing I'm going to do is give the filter a clean, and then I'm going to suggest a whole series of water changes to get that nitrate down. Whenever you're topping up an aquarium or a pond, just be aware that that is a top up, that is not a water change. Because when the water evaporates, it's just the H2O that evaporates, and anything in the water concentrates, including various nutrients like nitrate and various accumulants. So what we actually want to do is take water out of the aquarium. In this case, all I've done is pull the filter over here, so it's pumping some water down the drain. So if we get some water out and then we put fresh water back in again, then, oh, actually this is very good water for the garden because it's high in nitrate. So this is actually quite good garden water, unless you go salting the fish too much. A little bit of salt is very good for the fish, but too much salt's not too good for the garden. So taking water out and putting fresh water in, and that's going to need to be done a series of times. It really is not the case that we can think that we can just do this and then suddenly find that everything's improved. It's going to take a series of water changes, because the other thing with fish too is we don't want to shock them too much. So I'd rather take a little bit out and then refill it, and then take a little bit out and refill it, and not go doing a silly big water change, because that can cause stress on the fish. One of the best things you can do for a garden pond is on a regular basis go and give it a scoopy scoop, and you try and remove any leaves and so forth from the bottom, and that really helps the quality over a period of time. Clean the pumps, the sponges, in water from the fish pond, not water from the tank. We've drained an amount of water out now. Now this filter has just got some very primitive balls in it. Now you could make this filter more efficient by, over time, converting these balls to marine pure balls, because they're far more efficient. The other thing you could actually do is actually sprinkle some marine pure balls in here. That wouldn't look bad. And marine pure will work as a compost heap, and it'll grow parallel denitrifying and nitrifying bacteria, and getting some of those balls and just throwing them in the actual pond would actually help the filtration. Now, in saying that, the tank downstairs has got so many extra marine pure balls that we could actually just run down and grab some out of the tank and chuck them in here, and then over time that will actually increase our biological capacity, because right now this water, it certainly isn't that bad, but it isn't that perfect either. So the more crap we can scoop out, and then I think adding some Pristine is going to help, because Pristine is going to help break down a lot of that solid crap. And then so I'm just going to put the filter wool in the top of this and get this filter running again, and dosing the pond with Pristine would be a good idea. I'd like to see the quality of food increased, because I'm not a fan of any of these pressure cooked processed pellets or flakes, And if you read the instructions of half fish foods on the market at the moment, they don't even contain anything that fish actually eat. So food quality is everything. Got some filter wool in there now, and that's all good until it's not. So just make sure that you're watching it every now and then, because you want it to stay clean. Because as that becomes really dirty, then we really want that out. So we don't really want a whole lot of crap in there and then just cycle a volume of water past it for months and months. So if that was checked once a week or once every couple of weeks, then typically that would be okay. So that one's getting replaced, and then the rocks underneath, or the fireballs underneath, they must never be cleaned with tap water, only cleaned in water from the pond. We're topping up the pond. We want to fill up a maximum 5 centimeters, and then we want to do a full dose of Waterager just to make sure we're not chlorine flushing the fish. Anything you do with fish ponds or fish tanks, often little is better. What I don't want to do is a major water change, do a major clean and stress everybody and potentially release hydrogen sulfide. I would rather do a smaller, more frequent water change and giving it a bit of a clean every time. It causes a lot less stress on the fish than anything big and major. Considering I know there's a spare water pump downstairs, I would consider, depending on how the electrical situation is and how much hassle that is, if we put an extra pump in that corner and shot it that way, what we would want to do is create what's called kinetic energy. So if we did create some kinetic energy in this pond, then what we do is we get the water moving on itself. And kinetic energy is where you move the water, and the movement of the water creates the movement of the water. So it's a much more economical way of flowing our pond. Now, as far as that's concerned, if we start getting a bit of flow in the pond, it means the fish can swim against it. So therefore the fish can use more energy to cover less space. And it does mean the pond will tend to stay cleaner, because all your particles will tend to settle in less places, because there's physically more water flow, and therefore more likely that the junk is going to end up in the filter itself. I'm a big fan of good water flow and kinetic water flow without being silly about it. So anytime I leave an aquarium or a pond, it's very common that it looks worse than when I started, and that's because I disturb everything, and then you'll find that the tank or the pond will settle beautifully after I've left. And the other thing is that whenever I've done a service on your aquarium or pond, it's quite a good idea not to feed your fish for a day or two, and that just allows the fish to do a bit of scavenging. Helps to keep it clean for you. If you're particularly scared of your fish jumping out, I try to keep the pond as full as possible, and then top it up regularly, particularly with these nice big fish. A few extra centimeters gives them quite a lot of water. And then this thing here is a pump cover. I used to love these things. They're not available anymore in Australia, but they're from Universal Rocks, and it seriously looks like a rock, and you can use that to hide your pump. Love it. I'm actually very shocked how much larger this pond looks now that I've removed the rocks out of the back of it, and now that I'm filling it up a lot more. It actually looks to me like double the size. Obviously it's not, but it actually looks far bigger than it did before. The other thing with this pond is it's probably got a really fancy water feature, which if that was turned on would be like a full-on beautiful big waterfall. So the last thing I've got to do today is remove some of the excess marine pure from the filter downstairs to put in the pond, because that marine pure in the pond, you're really not going to notice it, and that's going to add to the filtration of the pond by offering parallel nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria, because those little worms, those little balls, will act like the worms in a compost heap and will help to improve the water quality of this pond over time.